But I prayed. I said this prayer, and it was a heartfelt prayer. And less than 24 hours later, this company representing the celebrity reached out to me. Why did this opportunity even come into my life after praying that prayer? Why? And that's when I finally got an answer. That light bulb finally went on. Hi guys! Well, today's video isn't going to be as long as they usually are because I'm trying to finish this other project, this other video that I really want to get out to you as soon as possible. So today I'm going to share with you a message that has been on my heart lately, and we're going to talk about some screenshots. But first, before we get into that, I want to share the latest review that has come in for Hydro Heal. It came in yesterday. This review is from Rachel, and she titled her review, "Only Cream That Works." She wrote, "I have a reoccurring spot of eczema on my hand that will flare up every few months or so. I've been to 4 different dermatologists over 13 years that have given me several creams and ointments that have barely worked, and the eczema always comes back. Hydro Heal has been a miracle cream. Since I've been using it daily for about a year, I've had no flare-ups and no itching at all." Thank you, Rachel. Now, what stood out to me in this review is when she wrote, "Hydro Heal has been a miracle cream." For those of you old school followers who have been with me from day one, you might remember that Hydro Heal used to be called Hydro Heal Miracle Ointment. It's sort of a nickname that happened when people would come to me and say, "Hey, can I get some of that miracle ointment or that miracle cream that you make?" So we started calling it Miracle Ointment, only to find out years later that the FDA prohibits anyone from using the word miracle in the name of their product. You can't use the words miracle, healing, cure, or any type of verbiage that would suggest your product officially takes care of something. You can say it treats something, it brings relief, it helps, but you are not allowed to use any verbiage that suggests if you use a product, your health problem will be completely resolved. So it's crazy, but we've had to deal with that. So we used to call Hydro Heal Miracle Ointment. Today we just call it Hydro Heal Therapy. And we have different products that target different parts of the body. So hand therapy, foot therapy, lip therapy. Well, anyways, the reason this review stood out to me is because a few days ago, a video popped up in my feed of a major influencer, someone I'm not too familiar with, but I know that a lot of people follow her. I know she's friends with some pretty prominent Utah Latter-day Saint influencers. Well, anyways, one of her videos popped up from a little while ago, and she was talking about how she has chronic eczema that flares up every time she has a baby. And she showed her hands and said that it's all over her hands. It's painful. Her skin is raw. Doctors have never been able to help her. It never goes away. And it's something she's just had to deal with and tolerate. Well, of course, I had to go down into the comments and share with her all about Hydro Heal eczema therapy. Yes, I might be a little bit biased, but only because it 100% absolutely works. Otherwise, I wouldn't waste my time making it and selling it. So I dropped a link down in her comments. I'm not sure if she'll even notice it because she gets so many comments. But as I was scrolling down, I saw all of these other small businesses out there doing the same thing, saying, "Hey, try our eczema cream. It definitely helps," or "It will bring you more relief," or "You'll notice a difference." And I thought, I might be the only skincare creator that feels confident enough to say, even though I'm not allowed to per the FDA, that my product that targets eczema truly is a miracle cream. Not only do the flare-ups go away, but they don't come back. I know this from personal experience, family experience, and all of you out there who send me your testimonials and before and after pictures, which is another thing that is not allowed. So if you put ads on Facebook, Instagram, and even YouTube, you are not allowed to show before and after pictures. You're not allowed to say, this was someone's skin before this product, and this is their skin after this product. I think it had something to do with suggesting that people might feel ashamed of themselves if their skin looks like the photo you show in the before picture. I just remember this was during the time of the peak of political correctness, and you couldn't use any type of verbiage or show any type of images that would cause someone to feel bad about themselves if they had those rashes or dry skin or whatever it was. So it's very tricky. It's very difficult to market skincare products because of that. So what I love about having my own YouTube channel is I can say anything I want to in my videos about my products without having to get any kind of approval. So because of that, I stopped all marketing campaigns. Hydro Heal is exclusively a word-of-mouth product. Whether you hear about it directly from me through my channel or my social media pages, or you stumble across it in a Google search, or you hear about it from a friend, those are the only ways you will hear about it. So thank you so much to all of you who take the time to leave reviews on my website and down in the comments of my YouTube videos. I appreciate that so much, and I love highlighting them in my videos. And as a thank you for all of your support and kindness, for the entire next week, all the way until November 8th, I am offering free shipping on my Symbols of Faith collection. If you're wanting to do some early Christmas shopping, these beautiful Latter-day Saint charms make the perfect stocking stuffers. I call it wearing your testimony, whether as a bracelet on your wrist or as a pendant on a necklace. I love it when people ask me, what is that you're wearing? Whether it's a handcart, angel Moroni, or the restoration key, it's so fun to be able to tell them that these are symbols that I designed to display my testimony, my faith of the restored gospel of Jesus Christ in these latter days. It always makes my day when someone notices that, and it opens up that door and gives me an opportunity to share my testimony. So starting right now, all the way through November 8th, I am offering free shipping in my Symbols of Faith store. And real quick, starting on November 3rd, that whole first week of November, orders are not going to be shipped out. They're going to be on hold until November 10th. So you can still go online, you can still shop in the Hydro Heal store and the Symbols of Faith store, but your order won't be shipped out until November 10th. So just a heads up to prevent all the emails and questions coming in about why your order hasn't shipped, just know that that whole first week of November, all shipping will be on hold until November 10th. Thanks for your patience, and as always, thanks for your support. This actually segues very nicely into today's message. The month of October has been very transforming for me. I don't know exactly why, but I do know that it started right around the time of General Conference. I know I've talked about it in the past couple of Happy Lady videos, how I've had this motivation or drive, this incredible inspiration to shift my priorities and put more of a focus on my home and family. In other words, being a homemaker. As I've been making these changes and priority shifts, I have noticed an increase, an abundance of happiness, joy, and peace. This extreme sense of fulfillment and satisfaction, which has really taken a lot of pressure and stress off of my shoulders, off of my plate. As I've been reflecting on all of this over the past couple of weeks, I've had the thought of how over the years, the world, or I guess you could say the adversary, has done a very good job at convincing women, especially me, I'm speaking from personal experience, that finding and feeling real value in your life has everything to do with leaving your thumbprint in this world, with leaving behind some kind of legacy, feeling this need to create something that brings so much value into the world through your time, your talents, your gifts, and trying to make that successful while still trying to be a mom and a wife. I definitely plan to talk more about this over on my other YouTube channel, The Happy House. Like I've said, I've created a lot of content for that channel over the last several months, and I'm just now finally getting around to editing those videos. But these are topics and conversations meant for that channel, for that audience. But because it ties into today's video message, I'm going to be sharing with you a little bit more about that in today's video. But to save time and to spare you all the details, which I promise I will cover on my other channel, I just want to share with you that I finally reached a place where I woke up one morning and I asked myself this question: everything that I do, what am I doing it for? What is my reason? What's my motivation? All of these things that are filling up my calendar, causing me to be a little overbooked, causing me to carry around extra weight and pressure on my shoulders, which at the end of the day has me feeling exhausted, burnt out, frustrated, and sometimes feeling like a failure. You know that feeling when you're trying to walk faster than you can run, and in the process, you're dropping everything that you're carrying. Everything that's in your basket is falling out, so that by the time you get to the destination or the finish line, you look into your basket and it's looking pretty empty. And you look back and see all of the things that you dropped along the way. But you said to yourself, I don't have time to stop and bend down and pick that up. I'll just get it later. Or someone else will find it and pick it up and bring it to me. Someone else will step in and help out. I have a timeline, a deadline, in which I only have so much time to get to the finish line. So I'll just worry about all those other things later. I'm just gonna keep running, moving along, plugging away, burning the midnight oil until I finally slide in to that finish line. Well, I have to say, from personal experience, that finish line is not stationary. It moves. As you're running towards it, in a very sneaky way, it backs up. So the more that you move towards it, the further away it gets. And it's very deceptive because there are days when you can see it, it's in your sight. You know you're so close. You're finally going to get to that point where you can exhale, take a breather, have a break, celebrate, only to find out, to your disappointment, that someone has pushed that finish line back another mile, 2 miles, 5 miles, 10 miles, and you begin to realize that there really is no end. There is no finish line. That's the deception of the adversary. He's running along right behind you, whispering in your ear, just a little bit more of this, or a little bit more of that. Take a few more of these appointments. And this next person coming into your life, say yes to everything they offer you. Yes, it's going to add a little bit more to your basket, and that weight is going to slow you down, but it will be worth it. And you might want to sit this or that activity out. Your family, your friends, your neighbors, they'll understand. You've got a lot in your basket. But once you get to that finish line, you'll be able to make it all up. Forget about the past and forget about how difficult things are right now. Focus on the future. All of those beautiful sunsets you're going to enjoy because you'll finally have the time. Now, I've shared quite a few times in my videos that analogy that President Holland gave years ago in a general conference where he talked about driving down the road in a truck with his son. They come to a fork in the road. They're not sure whether to go left or right, so they pray about it and they feel really good about going right. So they head down that road and they don't get too far before they hit a dead end and realize that was the wrong road. And his son asks the question, Dad, why did we feel so good about taking that road after we prayed when it was actually the wrong road? Why would we feel good about that? And President Holland replied, the Lord allowed us to go down that road so that we would realize that's not the right road. That way we would have peace and confidence going down the other road, knowing that's the right road without doubting or having regret. And I have definitely learned that lesson multiple times throughout my life, but especially in 2025. I think this realization hit me around the month of August when something happened that was my President Holland fork in the road. I remember praying to the Lord and asking Him to send a business partner into my life, and I was very specific. I remember not only did I pray about it, but I wrote it down in my prayer journal. I prayed for a businesswoman with the same values and ideals as me, the same passion, the same drive, who could really help out and take over the marketing side of everything, because that's the one thing I didn't have time for. I remember pouring my heart out to the Lord and feeling like this was a righteous desire because I didn't want to be so busy. I did want to free up a lot of my time. And in order to do that, I thought I needed a partner, someone to split all of the workload with. Now, over the years, I had been involved with lots of different deals, business partners, investments, and every single time I was left disappointed. And what's funny about that is every single one of those was an answer to a prayer. I would pray for opportunities. I would pray for people to come into my life who would open up a door that would take everything to the next level and really help me out. And it happened multiple times over the years. People would say to me, "Wow, you're really lucky," or "You must feel really blessed because doors always open up for you. People always reach out to you with amazing opportunities." And of course, I was thinking, if you only knew. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. There's a reason they call the TV show Shark Tank. A lot of time in the business world, you'll hear people called snakes, wolves, and sharks. And let me tell you, those labels are very valid. So when I prayed this prayer this last summer, I prayed that a fellow mom and businesswoman would come into my life who wouldn't be a snake or a shark or a wolf and truly would want to do amazing things with me. Well, anyways, a couple of weeks went by and nothing happened, nothing changed. And then one day I had this thought to go into my voicemail and clean it up. I don't know about you guys, but I hardly ever check my voicemail. If people want to get a hold of me, the best way is to text me. I don't always see when I have missed calls, so if people leave me a voicemail, I don't always see the notifications. Usually the only people that leave me voicemails are a certain family member of mine who will leave multiple in a row. So if anyone else is trying to leave me a message, it will get lost and drowned in this family member's sea of voicemails, or it's usually spam calls. So I hardly ever check my voicemail because I figure if it's important, they're going to text me. I'm also not the best with checking my personal email, but I check that more than I check my voicemail. So as I'm going through deleting all of these voicemails from this particular family member, about 13 voicemails down, I notice a voicemail from Florida. So naturally, I assume it's spam, and I almost deleted it. But then I decided to read it, and as I'm looking at the text, it's sounding really strange. That technology of transcribing a voicemail isn't always the best. So what I was reading wasn't actually what the person said. What I was reading wasn't actually what the person said. So I decided to go in and listen to it. And as I'm listening, I hear this person say that she is the talent manager or representative of such and such celebrity. And I thought to myself, did I just hear that right? So I listened to it again, and sure enough, she said this celebrity's name. So right away I'm thinking, okay, this is probably spam. It's a pre-recorded message that goes out to all kinds of people just to get their attention. So I was getting ready to delete it, and then this person said the name of my product and said, someone on our team has used your product before. They absolutely love Hydro Hill, and this celebrity that I represent is really wanting to partner with a skincare brand. And so we've been looking around trying to find the right fit, the right product for this celebrity, and someone on our team happens to use Hydro Hill and said that it actually works and that this would probably be a good fit for this celebrity. So I shared the voicemail with my husband. He listens to it and he says, yeah, that's legit. And I didn't want to get excited because I've been through this before. I'm not new to it. For those of you who know my story, I had done a business deal with a Shark Tank investor out of Florida. I've been there, done that, and have no desire to do it again. Now, this particular celebrity that this woman represented, I won't say her name, but I will say I believe she got her big break when she starred on the TV show Baywatch back in the 90s. So I definitely knew who she was. was. And no, it wasn't Pamela Anderson, but I ended up Googling her name and going to her website, and she is very much into fitness and health. She endorses a lot of products and has a clothing line, and I began to wonder if this would be a good fit, if this was an answer to my prayer. So I looked at the date of this voicemail, and it happened to be the following morning of the night that I prayed this prayer, that I prayed this businesswoman would come into my life with the same passion, the same motivation and drive, and would be able to take over the whole marketing side of Hydro Heal. And so I thought, well, it won't hurt. In fact, it might even be too late because I didn't notice this voicemail until 2 weeks later. After realizing I wasn't doing a very good job keeping up on my voicemail, I decided to go into all of my emails, which, believe me, I have multiple email accounts, probably at least 12 or 15, and I decided to go through all of those. I cleaned everything out, and then I went into the spam folders. And I noticed in the spam folders of some email accounts I seldom ever use, I had received an email from this same woman right around the same time that she left me this voicemail. And I thought, oh my goodness, this does not look good. It looks like I am ignoring her, when truthfully, I never even noticed her voicemail or saw her emails. So I called back the number, left a message, replied to the emails, let her know that they went to my spam, and said, if you're still interested, I'd love to chat. And of course, the following day, she reached out to me and she said, let's set up a phone call. I'm going to have you meet with my manager. So she set up that appointment, and prior to it, I told my husband, I said, just so you know, I'm not going to jump into anything. After all the experiences I've been through, I am very cautious, but I will be curious to see what they offer. And I do find it interesting that I prayed this prayer, and the following morning, this company reached out to me. I didn't go looking for them. I pray a prayer. Someone on their team just happened to have used Hydro Heal and loves it and recommended it for this celebrity. And they went searching and digging, looking for my contact information and happened to find personal emails and emails I never use. And I thought, well, they went through quite a bit of effort to get a hold of me. So I definitely feel like the ball is in my court. I do have that advantage. Well, the day came for that phone call, and my husband joined me, and the guy on the phone sounded like your typical businessman from the East Coast. He had that New York accent. Turns out he was born and raised in New York, and like many New Yorkers do, they eventually migrate south down into Florida. So that's where he was working. Florida is a hot pot for what we used to call back in the day infomercials and as seen on TV product, branding, and marketing companies. So this was all feeling very familiar to me. And during this phone call, this man was just telling us how excited he was that he had found our product. And though he'd never used it, he'd heard wonderful things about it and was so excited to get something going with this celebrity and how much she was going to love my brand and what I've created. And then he asked us, he said, you're from Utah. And I remember he asked me to tell my story about how I created Hydro Heal. And that too was an answer to a prayer. So I shared with him that whole spiritual experience and the miracle that unfolded. And he just jumped right on that and said, I'm a believer too. I think that's amazing that you're so open about your faith and you share it on your website. I think that's so amazing. I love that about you. You guys sound like good, grounded people. We love doing business with people like you. And I could feel that he was trying to butter me up. So I've been around the block with this. I recognize it when it's happening. And the minute I said the name of the Shark Tank investor from season 1, who I ended up doing a 50-50 partnership with, meaning I forked out 50% of the money to make those infomercials, but I ended up having zero say, zero control over all of the happenings of that project, even though I invested half of the money. So when I mentioned the name of this investor, he said, oh, I know him. I used to work for him. And everything you're telling me about your experience is very accurate. That's why they didn't bring him back for the next season. And so he was trying to build my trust by validating my experiences and what I had been through and saying, that's why I don't work for him anymore because I do things a little different. But right away, there was that red flag that he had worked for this person who I had previously done a business deal with several several years ago. Well, anyways, he decided to cut to the chase and said, hey, let's set up our next meeting with my whole team, people on the East Coast and the West Coast, and let's get this rolling. He said, let me just tell you, I have big plans for Hydro Hill. We're going to have ads running in Times Square. We're going to feature this celebrity on the Today Show and have her on all the morning talk shows on national TV, endorsing your brand and putting out all kinds of videos and content. We're going to do this huge media blitz. And he went on and on and on and on. And then he said, so let's get this next meeting going. Go ahead and send me some samples so I can try it. And then let's meet with the whole team. So we set up that appointment. I get off the phone call. I go grab some samples, ship those off. And then I start to say to my husband, I find it interesting that he didn't ask any questions about my business operations and about my numbers. You would think before jumping into a deal and wanting to take something to the next level, you would want more information on that business. So to me, that is a huge red flag that he didn't ask any questions about my business operations, my expenses, my revenue, all of that. He just wanted to jump right in. He even already had a date, a deadline for this huge media blitz campaign in Times Square and all across the country, but didn't even take the time to ask if I had the capability or the capacity to produce that amount of product for a campaign of that size. That was a huge red flag. So right away I told my husband, I don't feel good about this anymore. I have a feeling they're going to want me to pay for all of this. I don't think this is going to be a partnership. I don't think it's going to be anything like a sponsorship. I think it's going to be me paying a lot of money to have a celebrity endorse my product, and then to also give this celebrity and this company a huge cut of all of those sales. I really have a feeling that that's where this is leading, that is the plan. But then I kept reminding myself, but I prayed. I said this prayer, and it was a heartfelt prayer. And less than 24 hours later, this company representing the celebrity reached out to me. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm feeding too much into my PTSD from all of my past experiences. Well, eventually the day comes where we're supposed to have this meeting with the whole team on the East Coast and the West Coast. And it ends up being one person from their West Coast office. So there was the next red flag. There was no team, just this one person assigned to have this phone call with us. And he was basically ready to just jump in and start signing contracts. Before we got to that point, I said, wait a minute, I have a question. I find it really interesting that you guys have never asked me if I have the capacity to fill all of these potential orders that will be the result of this massive endorsement and media campaign. And he said, oh, they never asked you about that? And I said, no. And he said, okay, this is a good time. Let's talk about that. So right away, I told him I am a small business and I'm at my capacity. This is what I'm able to do, not much more than that. And that's why I have been looking for a business partner to help with the workload so that I can take it to the next level. And right away he said, oh, okay, that changes things. We definitely were not looking to do a business partnership. We were looking to have you pay $35,000 for us to basically advertise your product nationwide with the endorsement of this celebrity. And I said, well, I'm so glad I brought this up at the beginning of our meeting so we don't waste each other's time. This definitely is not going to be a good fit for Hydro Hill. And he agreed and said, yes, it doesn't sound like it's going to be a good fit for us as well because we don't want to have to fork out any money. We just want you to pay us the money. And then we want to continue collecting money on your products, on your brand. And I said, that's a hard no. And so he thanked me for being honest. He thanked me for being kind about it. And he realized that the communication was not very good from that first meeting. I was under the impression that this was going to be a possible partnership, but clearly they are just a marketing agency looking for me to give them my money to market my brand. So I was grateful that I was spared another terrible business experience. And later I began to wonder, why did this opportunity even come into my life after praying that prayer? Why? And that's when I finally got an answer. That light bulb finally went on, and I felt the Lord say, you prayed, and I put these opportunities in your path to help you understand and have peace about not taking your business to the next level? I heard these questions begin to come into my mind. What is your why? Why are you doing all of this? Why are you wanting to take things to the next level? Why are you wanting a partnership? Why are you wanting to grow? And as I began to think about that, and I began to imagine what that would look like if I did take everything to the next level, well, that would mean more people coming into my life, which would mean more phone calls, more appointments, more time being taken up on my calendar, more problem solving, more fires that would have to be put out, more stress, more pressure, more deadlines, more cooks in the kitchen. And as I began to imagine what that would look like, I quickly realized that that's not what I want. What I want is less appointments, less space being taken up on my calendar, and that I really couldn't have both. All of this time I had thought, if I could just get more help, if I could just have more cooks in the kitchen helping me cook, right? Then the work would be divided and I would free up more time in my life. Things would be easier. But the Lord began to show me that that's actually not what would happen. Bringing more people into my life would be more conversations, more communication, more decisions that I would have to make. It would pretty much be more of all of the things that I didn't want more of. I thought that outsourcing more of the work would free up more time for me, when actually it would create more problems, more work. I definitely can say that keeping things small helps me have that quality control, helps me be able to oversee what's going out, what's happening behind the scenes, versus when you outsource the work and it's done at other facilities, in other locations, you can't see what's going on behind the scenes. And when things go wrong, everything gets diverted back to you and you have to figure it out. You have to put out those fires. There's a lot more communication going on and things can get confusing pretty quick and lost in translation. But where you keep everything small, you oversee all of it. You don't have to run anything past anyone. There are no middle people, which definitely cuts back on your expenses. That's something else that I learned. The more people that I outsourced to take on a lot of that workload, which was supposed to be a relief, remove some of that weight off of my shoulders, ended up adding a lot more expenses to my business, which turned up the pressure to have to maintain a certain amount of revenue in order to justify and cover those expenses. And at the end of the day, I was paying everyone else but myself. And in that moment, I felt the truth of that age-old saying, less is more. And so September going into October, I began to pull back. I began doing everything again in-house, put a stop to all of those plans for marketing and growth, and decided, per the advice of some fantastic people in my life, that organic growth is the best kind of growth, and that the whole reason I created these products that I love was for me. I had dry skin, so I created a product that took care of that. I was looking for beautiful Latter-day Saint charms and jewelry that at the time I couldn't find. All of the things that I have created was to fulfill a need that I myself had. It was never the other way around. It was never, I really want to start a business. What kind of a business can I create? What can I invent, right? And because of that, I've kept everything going. I continue to create, to provide those things that I love for others who might enjoy them. That's my why. That's my motivation. But none of these things were meant to bring me joy. The only things that could truly bring me joy could only be found within the walls of my home, my family, my relationships, my faith, and that everything else was just an appendage to that. So after having this realization, I just felt so happy. It made sense. After all of these years, feeling like I needed to take my ideas and my brand to the next level so that my husband could retire and we could spend more time traveling and visiting his family and doing all of the things that we never have time to do. I realized those were not the right reasons. Those goals, wishes, dreams would not bring me the happiness, peace, and joy that I desired. And that if I were to pursue that path, I would quickly realize that I would never reach that finish line. It would never be enough. There would always be something more beyond the horizon to strive for, to achieve, to keep raising the bar, which we all know living that kind of a life will never bring you joy, satisfaction, and peace. And that realization, that decision to shift my priorities and rearrange a lot of things in my life has made all the difference. And I can't even begin to tell you how much happier, how much more joy and peace I have felt over these last couple of weeks. And the funny thing about all of this is as soon as I began to rearrange my priorities and cut off all of my outsourcing and bring everything back in-house, business began to spike naturally, organically, without any explanation, any rhyme or reason. And I took that as a sign from the Lord that when you arrange the priorities in your life to put family first and the things of His kingdom first. And what I mean by that is, yes, it's so easy to say, well, we all do those things. Many of us volunteer and serve in the community and in the church in one capacity or another. We do all of these things. But what I mean by that, where the real shift happened, was with my goals and dreams. No longer do any of my goals or dreams have anything to do with all of these appendages, these things that I do on the side. They're fun, and I do them because I enjoy them, but now I only do them when I have time for them, which helps them to be enjoyable. They become more of a hobby or a pastime, something I do for fun on the side, rather than what drives my schedule, my daily itinerary. Now, all of my goals and my dreams only have to do with my family, my faith, and everything that can be found in the walls of my home. That has made all the difference. It's like I'm seeing life through a new lens. I'm seeing things in completely different colors, and everything is so much more beautiful and fulfilling and exciting. It has changed the way I respond to opposition and challenges and things that aren't so pleasant. I respond with so much more patience and clarity of mind. It really has been a night and day difference. I love not feeling like I have deadlines, or if I don't get something done by a certain date or time, I'm going to disappoint people, or it's going to cause problems. It has definitely improved every relationship in my life and has really helped me to enjoy and appreciate every minute of the journey. Anyways, there's so much more I could share about this, but for the sake of time, I'll probably talk more about it in other videos on my other channel. I decided to share this message on my Happy Lady channel in hopes that maybe someone out there needed to hear this. I also want to ask if any of you have been experiencing this as well. Have you felt a need or a strong desire or pull to reprioritize everything in your life, to get rid of things that aren't serving you, to pull back, cut back, free up more time, be more present? And if so, how is that going for you? How is it changing your life? Are you noticing the blessings? Okay, real quick, let's talk about screenshots. We'll start with this one right here. It says power balance of the U.S. and China coming together, pledging cooperation in order to avert global economic fallout. And there is that pay attention number 11, the 11th hour. I happened to take this screenshot at midnight, so it just reminded me of we are in the 11th hour, headed right into midnight. Pay attention. Now, I happened to accidentally leave this screenshot out of the last video. It says sky violations. Putin warns of overwhelming response as NATO ally forces air intrusion. Now, in that video, I talked a lot about things that were happening in the skies, and we're going to continue that in today's video, so pay attention. Continuing on with the skies, we all watched as Hurricane Melissa ripped through the Caribbean. Right here I have this screenshot. It says Hurricane Melissa is now on the list as one of the strongest hurricanes ever recorded on Earth. It is a Category 5 storm with maximum sustained winds of 160 miles per hour. Please join me in praying for Jamaica. This is going to be absolutely devastating for them. As you can see, this hurricane did quite some damage, and it's been recorded as the most powerful hurricane ever to strike the island nation, bringing torrential rains and damaging winds, which left hundreds of thousands without power, destroyed homes, scattered debris, and the death toll in the Caribbean climbed to over 60 deaths as of November 1st. And this is after the Jamaican government confirmed 28 deaths on the island. And then also, in addition to that, there were deaths reported in Haiti and the Dominican Republic, including areas that didn't experience a direct landfall but saw severe flooding from the slow-moving storm. And then here's a screenshot that someone sent to me regarding this hurricane. It says, looks like we have more smart city land clearing operations going on, and this time in Jamaica with Hurricane Melissa, dumping several feet of rainfall on an area that was already slated to become a smart city. I mean, this hurricane has intensified faster than any other in history, and I believe it is 100% geoengineered to help clear the land to fulfill their plans to play their role in Agenda 2030. They already had a $5 billion plan and everything drawn up, and lo and behold, here comes a massive hurricane to clear the land. What a coincidence. And then right here below, you can see these additional screenshots. It says Jamaica has comprehensive plans for smart city development, including a new city project from the ground up to address overcrowding and infrastructure strain, and a demonstration project in New Kingston to test and implement smart technologies. These initiatives are part of the broader Vision 2030 Jamaica long-term development plan and align with sustainable development goals, focusing on using technology to improve quality of life, drive economic growth, and enhance efficiency in urban areas. Key aspects include smart energy solutions, modern infrastructure, and using data to manage city services more effectively. Now, this brings to mind something I had been reading today in the Book of Mormon, not because of this, but now that I'm editing this part of the video, it reminds me of what I read about the cities that were destroyed and buried into the sea right before the Savior visited the Nephites here on this American continent. So we have this record of all these cities that were sunk into the sea. In fact, even before coming across those scriptures that I wasn't even looking for in the Book of Mormon, earlier this week, this popped up and started playing in my feed. It says, Pastor History Buff with PhD in Linguistics discusses pre-flood world plus Antarctica. And as I watched this video, he talked about this city that shows up on Google Earth. You can see it on the maps, where you can tell that there's a visible city that sunk right below Cuba. And I shared this with a friend who has a lot of family connections to Cuba. She sent me this image right here and reminded me of the visible city that has sunk where we see the Gulf of America. And it's been said there is a lot of talk, I don't know if you want to call it legend, speculation theories, that the lost city of Enoch that was taken up was originally in this location. I just find it interesting that this topic is reoccurring. It clearly is a pattern this whole week, and it's not a topic I've been looking for or even researching. So to me, that says pay attention. I always talk about how the events in 3rd Nephi definitely mirror what's happening today. It's absolutely a blueprint that we can learn from. It's believed that they were very robust and advanced cities, and so I'm reminded of this right here. We've heard about this happening in so many other areas where these smart cities have been planned. So I decided to pull up a list of the current smart cities that are in the works, and I thought I could just read them real quick to you, and I'd love to hear your comments down below. So let's start with number 1. We have Dallas, Texas. Number 2, Chicago, Illinois. Number 3, Denver, Colorado. Number 4, Seattle, Washington. Number 5, Charlotte, North Carolina. Number 6, San Francisco, California. Number 7, Washington, D.C. Number 8, Boston, Massachusetts. Number 9, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Number 10, Boulder, Colorado. Number 11, San Jose, California. Number 12, New York City. 13, Miami, Florida. 14, LaGrange, Georgia. And look up on the screen right now, right when I finished that 14th city, it was at 44 minutes and 1 second into the video. 1:44, 4:41. Pay attention. The gathering of Israel. I find it very interesting that most of these cities are coastal cities. They are by the ocean. And again, here is another screenshot I took during the time that Hurricane Melissa was approaching. This is from a meteorologist named Noah. That just stood out to me. Pay attention, Noah. And here's what he said. He wrote, "Horrible, worst case scenario is unfolding. Really, I am near a loss of words. Last chance to protect your life at all costs," is the words from the NHC. Melissa is about to make landfall at its strongest intensity. A humanitarian disaster is about to unfold. Essentially, a giant tornado path will devastate a path across the island around the eye. The hurricane detected 252 mile per hour gusts, 300 feet off the ocean surface, 185 mile per hour max sustained winds, and 220 plus mile per hour gusts in the eye wall, about to obliterate Black River area. Now, I talked about in the last video all of these lines that were starting to appear in the skies and how strange it was because it wasn't quite time for Utah to do its cloud seeding. And not only that, but cloud seeding looks completely different than what you see on the screen right now. Cloud seeding happens near the mountains, and it happens when there's already a lot of clouds in the sky, and drones fly in to produce the cloud seeding. So this is something completely different. And I talked about how odd it was because we have the government shut down, so clearly the government is not funding this. So my question is, who is funding this? Because clearly this costs a lot of money, and it is happening all over the United States simultaneously. So this right here is in Utah, and a friend of the channel reached out to me and shared this screenshot. She said, "I thought this looked pretty interesting. It looks like an asterisk. Look at that. It's like a little star." I talked about in the last video how during the first couple of weeks of the government shutdown, none of this was happening. The skies were absolutely beautiful. They were clean and clear, no lines at all. The air felt so fresh. It was so wonderful. It was absolutely refreshing. And then all of a sudden, this started happening. It wasn't just a little bit here and there. It was a lot. It just increased moment by moment all throughout the day, all throughout the week. These are pictures that I took with my own camera. You can see right there, there's all of these X's and crosses in the sky, these grids. And I'm going to tell you what my theory is, what I think the purpose of all of this is. So as you can see, you have these lines, and within minutes, they start to dissipate, they start to spread, and they start to create what looks like a blanket across the sky. Clearly, they are blocking the sun because as this spreads out across the sky, you can no longer see the sun. Everything looks gloomy, and the blue skies disappear. It's crazy how fast this happens. I'm filming this in real time as I'm driving, and you start out with these lines, and you can watch it as I'm driving just turn into a blanket. You can see right here how the sun is completely blocked. This was a 10-minute drive back to my house, and when I started, there were just lines forming in the sky. By the time I got home, there was a full-on blanket covering the entire sky. And then these large planes took off from the Air Force Base one after another. There was a lot going on. I don't remember this kind of activity happening when I was younger. This all feels pretty recent. Also, over this last week, there have been a lot of hit pieces written on a lot of prominent influencers and podcasters. There is a great amount of effort being put forth to paint these influencers and podcasters in a very negative light. And most of the information being reported is absolutely false. Here is another screenshot sent to me from a friend of the channel. It says, "Exclusive red pill alert. Trump's new White House ballroom is obliterating the Freemason control grid under D.C. 200 years of elite occult power lines are collapsing. Patriots, this is the classified truth they begged to keep buried. Washington, D.C. isn't a city. It's a demonic geometric trap built by Freemasons and Jesuits to enslave your soul. That pentagram in the streets, it's a real sigil, surgically designed to channel trauma, sacrifice, and population energy for rituals. Today, October 26, 2025, Trump is ripping it apart." His new White House ballroom isn't decor, it's a counter sigil, a precision strike by Space Force's geomagnetic warriors and the QFS military wing. It slices the ley line, tying the White House to the pentagram's southern edge, shattering the elite's energy cycle. Ground-penetrating radar exposed Masonic channels under the South Lawn, 200 years old, is now neutralized. The IRS headquarters, a Saturnian debt slavery node. The Capitol, their invocation chamber. The Washington Monument, a stolen Egyptian obelisk, broadcasting their control. Trump's ballroom, shielded with mu metal and housing a QFS node, flips the script. Angled 5 degrees off their lattice, it's collapsing their symmetry. Since construction began, DC's black site contractors report fiber failures and EMF chaos. Naval Observatory sensors caught field spikes October 13th through the 19th. Masonic lodges are ghost towns. Scottish rites silent. Pentagon's internal lodge is dark. The grid is dying. This is war on the Jesuit-Vatican-London triad. DC, their military ritual engine is breaking free. The elite's backup sites in Brussels and Astana under QFS chokeholds. GITMO's new underground wings opened last month. Tribunals are ready. The pentagram spell is broken. DC's aura is fractured. It goes on to say that the 2030 plan is crumbling. The president is back and the republic is rising. Now, I don't know much about this, so if you have any thoughts, please comment down below. But I thought because someone had sent this to me and I sent it to a few other friends, they said it sounded very familiar. They had heard this before. I too have heard a lot in the past about how DC was built on a lot of symbols and sacred geometry. And I'm working on a documentary right now, unrelated to this, but it does talk about ancient cities. And a lot of times throughout history, these ancient emperors were very big on building cities designed around symbols and sacred geometry and what was very important to them at the time, the type of beliefs that they had and their secret underground worship. So it doesn't surprise me that this still continues today. We've seen it all throughout history. A lot of scholars do talk about it, but I'm not very familiar with the story of how Washington, D.C. was built. I know people have sent me videos over the years, but it's not information I hang on to. So if you would like to comment on this, feel free down below. Do you feel a shift happening as well? Do you feel changes taking place in Washington, D.C.? I feel more of a change taking place at the grassroots level with independent podcasters and influencers that are going against the mold. It's been my observation that all of these wolves in sheep's clothing are beginning to expose themselves. And not only are independent podcasters and YouTubers sharing all of this information and bringing it into the light, but also random people from all around the world are assisting in this as well. And it seems to be spreading. People are opening their eyes and they're seeing what's really going on. That's the shift that I'm feeling. How about you? I've also been seeing those pay attention numbers everywhere. These two on the same day. There it is, 113, 3 Nephi chapter 11, and third day power in the 11th hour. This article here says, LA declares state of emergency after Trump's ICE raids expose tunnels, safe houses, and foreign-backed trafficking hubs hidden inside sanctuary programs. There's that number. It says over 113 arrests so far. They have been linked to NGOs, fake charities, and tenant aid groups funded by the European Union and the WEF-aligned donors. Many of these arrests aren't even migrants. They are handlers, and some have aliases going back 15 years. Behind them, a system built to engineer chaos and control votes while laundering billions through fake relief funds. Then there's that pay attention number 113 on this video that popped up, Moana of the Jets interview on Sean Stockman's On the Note podcast. I believe Sean Stockman is a member of the group Boys to Men, and I love the Jets. In fact, some of their family members watch my channel and are fans of the Happy Lady content. So I love their family. I think they're awesome, and I've always loved their music. And it's funny because when I saw that pay attention number next to the Jets, I thought about how I've been talking about all of these lines in the sky and all of the jets that have been flying over. But I didn't even connect that until I took the screenshot and started editing the video. But there it is. Pay attention. I love how her shirt says family, because I've been talking about in this video how that has been the main message for me over the past few weeks, to put everything aside and prioritize my family and everything happening in the walls of my home first. And as I've been doing that, these lines in the skies have been increasing. Things have been escalating all around me in the world. But I've learned that as I focus on Jesus Christ and keep my eye on my family, none of these things seem to bother me. They don't have an effect on me like they probably would before I rearranged my priorities. I'm going to add this in to this part of the video real quick. I am in California right now, and I'm in a hotel room, which is why the sound is a little different. But I found it interesting that when we arrived, we flew into LAX, and we literally flew into this huge, thick cloud of gray that just covered the whole city. It really looked like the apocalypse. Everything was gray and dark and depressing, and it just wasn't very beautiful. But as we drove south down to Laguna Beach, suddenly the skies turned blue. Everything was beautiful, clean, completely different. And then I noticed those lines starting to go across the sun, that grid forming in the sky. But we continued to have a good time anyways. And when we went to check into our hotel, I looked up on the TV screen and noticed that they were having a parade today to celebrate the win of the LA Dodgers, who won the World Series. And I noticed this kind of in the background over the last few days. I don't follow baseball, so I haven't been paying attention to the World Series, but right away I felt pay attention. And pay attention I did as I saw this screenshot. It says, back-to-back Dodgers nab dynasty-defining victory over Blue Jays in World Series Game 7. Pay attention, 7. The seventh day, the seventh seal. This is a number we see a lot. And then it says right here in this article, it says, from the doom of a World Series Game 7 sucker punch, 2 outs from defeat, the Dodgers roared back to steal an 11th inning victory for their second consecutive World Series title. Local news was reporting live on TV and saying, you know, this is such a refreshing break from all the negative news and all of the bad things that have been coming out of California lately. This is something we can all celebrate. This is something that's very uniting. And so as I paid attention, right there I saw we are opening the 7th seal. We are headed into that 7th seal. It is opening in this 11th hour. And this is something that we can all celebrate because we know who already won the victory. And he won it for the whole world, for all who would ever be born. Being optimistic, I would like to think that this story is very symbolic of bringing back hope to the people of California and to the people of Los Angeles. We have a temple there. God has a work going on there. God has a work going on all throughout the world. And I think that this can bring us hope to remind us that Jesus Christ has already won the victory over evil, over death. And this is something we should always be celebrating. He is coming back a lot sooner than we think. And this is something that the temple matron said to me the other night. She said, I truly believe he's coming even sooner than most people realize. So in this final inning, let's not give up hope. Let's keep our lamps trimmed and lit. And let's never stop celebrating what Jesus Christ has done for us. Now we're going to end on some positive screenshots. I love this one here that popped up when it was breaking news. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints announced its plans to add 55 new missions. Incredible! Things are speeding up and the kingdom is rapidly expanding. And I've been seeing hearts everywhere over the last week, and especially over the last 48 hours. They just keep popping up in the most random places, usually in my kitchen, sometimes other rooms of my home. But as you can see right here, they appear when I least expect it, but I always notice them. To me, they are little tender mercies, little reminders that God is aware of me and He loves me. And they always happen in moments when I need to be reminded of that. And I love this little smiley face. I was eating some cereal. In fact, this is what I broke my fast with, was a bowl of cereal. That was my meal. And I look down and I see a smiley face on my spoon and I just started laughing and I had my kids come over to check it out. And to me, again, it's just a tender mercy that God is aware of us, and there are so many people beyond the veil who love us dearly and are aware of us. And often I think we forget that the Lord has a sense of humor, and this definitely made me chuckle. I loved it. And speaking of smiling, being happy, and Washington, D.C., I want to end on this screenshot of the Church News website. Up in the left corner, Elder Bednar reminds BYU Pathway students that the gospel of Jesus Christ is joyful. And then down in the bottom right, Elder Neil L. Anderson, witnesses of truth, temples, and President Dallin H. Oaks. And he broadcasted this from Washington, D.C. Temple Grounds. I love that. I love that this happened at the Temple Grounds in Washington, D.C. with everything that's going on right now in this country. So many scenes that look like civil war and all kinds of division and chaos. This is a reminder that we can experience joy and peace when we center our lives on Jesus Christ and the house of the Lord. I know that as we do this, we will be happy. We will experience great blessings even during turbulent times. I know this is true, and I say it in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Thank you so much for joining me today, you guys. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. Hi, I'm Lindsey Reach, the creator of Hydro Heal, a product that's been changing dry skin for almost 2 decades. I created Hydro Heal back in 2008 as a solution for my own dry feet. Countless pedicures and dermatologist visits weren't making a difference. And who has the time or energy for this method? Word on the street spread, and Hydro Heal gained the attention of Shark Tank investors and venture capitalists, launching it on a nationwide TV campaign, gaining interest and attention from celebrities on live TV. See it to believe it demos and try before you buy? Put Hydro Heal in the spotlight, selling out of product at every show. After my feet were transformed, I decided to test it on eczema, dry lips and hands, athlete's foot, and cradle cap. And the results were incredible. Brand new skin in just 7 days. But it gets even better. HydroHeal was also tested on a recovering hospital patient with an ongoing leg wound that would not close. After 3 days, this was the result. A wound that closed, healthy skin, and doctors were amazed. So how does HydroHeal work? It's a solid ointment made from natural ingredients that turns into a liquid on contact with your skin, seeping down into deep cracks, while acting like a bandage, creating an invisible barrier on the surface, protecting your skin from outside elements, allowing it to naturally